And we got some really cool people coming that I'm sure you know already. Joe Kove, take it away.
Martin Kove, ladies and gentlemen.
Big Bad Marty.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ralph Macchio.
How's everybody doing?
Awesome.
How are all the hangovers?
So this was supposed to be an 80s thing, but it's sort of a karate outsider kid thing.
Wax on and stay gold.
Awesome.
So, good DragonCon for you guys?
It's been great. Everybody's been super cool. Lots to look at, a lot of friendly people, and got to sort of see some of my friends who I haven't seen in a long time, and hanging out with people like Ralph and Marty and keeping them out of trouble. It's been great.
We are going to line up for questions, I believe. Unless...
We're going to jump right into questions.
We can do that.
I think Ralph should tell us a story about the Karate
so
Kid.
much trouble. I was saying to myself, I should start talking now because he's going to drag me into something.
We want to hear some stories about the Karate Kid, right? Don't we? Yeah. We'll get to Marty in a second, but I'm going to drive this for a minute.
You are going to drive it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. First of all, I'll ask some mundane questions. What year did you do the first one?
1983.
So like pretty much right after The Outsider.
Right after The
Was that the film after The Outsider?
Yes, it was.
It was. I met John Appleton to be in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, but he wanted nothing to do with me. That's okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. When you met him, was it something that you wanted to do when you read it? Was it something that when you read it on paper you felt this is awesome, this is what I want to do immediately, or was it after the meeting with Appleton?
It was, I met Appleton in New York in his apartment, and he just had his case.
Okay, that sounds fishy right there. See, that's how a lot of actors get their jobs, folks.
Right. We're going to give you the real version.
Yeah.
I was a young lad. No, I'm not really young. Anyway, so yeah, I met John in New York City, and he was just auditioning. He had his own camera, own video, 1983, big, battery backpack video camera, and he just himself, a bunch of actors lined up outside his place, and he would just read us one at a time. And I remember everyone talking about this is the Karate Kid with a ridiculous title. It's never going to stick. It's so corny, And I remember that videotape of my audition is available on YouTube, which normally I try to destroy all of them, but for that movie I've kept it on. John Appleton has a YouTube page, and my first reading as Daniel LaRusso is on that. And one of the first things he said to me when I was done is he said, "Have you ever done any karate? And if you haven't, I would start taking some lessons." So I was like, "Oh wow, man!"
So you knew you had.
I had a shot. I had a shot. That was yes. And then once I got to the studio, I had some hoops to jump.
And what about you, Marty? Did you meet Appleton? How did he just make you the offer? Did you have to?
His was tougher. It took a little while.
Did you have to take badass lessons?
No, I did have to take I had some badass pills I was taking. I was medicated through the whole
They call that Viagra now.
Thank you very much. I was medicated through the whole movie. That's why he's such a low-key character. No. I went to the reading, and I actually told the story once before. The reading was with the dialogue, "Mercies for the weak here and on the streets as I parade up and down the dojo." The columns there, I was told that I had a whole week to study, and then what happened was they called me the next day, and the casting lady says, "You've got to show up now at noon." And I was really livid. So my wife says to me, use all this anger and venom that you feel for the director and the casting people, go into it using with Mercy for the Week. So I went in there and I just berated John Avildsen, and I told him, you know, I think, John, you're an ass. We wait forever to meet directors of your caliber. And we fire our agents, we fire our managers, and, you know, to get to see guys like you, and you give me 20 minutes with the script. You're an asshole. And so are you, Caro Jones. And I went right into Mercy for the Week, and they loved it.
Sounds like you need a hug, man. Come here. Angry.
And we did the same thing with Jerry Weintraub, and then the same thing with, I think it was Guy McElwain, and I abused him, and I got it. And, you know, it doesn't mean using people is good, but in this case it was.
Did they tell you right away, or did you have to wait a few days before you got the job?
About 2 weeks.
Right. And the question that people ask me a lot, which I sort of know the answer, because you never know this, but did you feel a vibe when you were making the movie? Did you feel like this is special?
I felt that that the Miyagi-Daniel relationship and the Pat Morita-Ralph chemistry was evident from the onset.
Right. You guys were great. Pat Morita and Ralph were amazing together, right?
You know, it's just one of those magical connections that just, you know, I mean, obviously it's 30 years later and people still talk about how that film's affected them, but that I didn't know the movie was going to be a hit. What I knew is that we had something.
Well, no
special.
disrespect to Pat, but honestly, you know, I'm thinking to myself back then, really, Arnold from Happy Days?
Yeah, no, we all said the same thing.
Really?
We all said
And
the
then,
same
you know, he gets nominated for an Academy Award.
Yeah, no,
what do I know?
Really. Now, what was your Outsiders? Because my Outsiders audition process was long. Like, I mean, not long, a long wait. I came in for the, you know, we all auditioned in this one room, and everyone wanted to be in this movie, and it was Francis Ford Coppola, and I wanted to play the part of Johnny. I read the book when I was 12. I felt I looked like that guy. I could play that guy. Anytime they asked me to read for another part, I was like, no, I want to be this guy. And like I had that, you know, the balls to pull that off, but I was very determined. And so I read, you know, a couple of scenes, and then it disappeared for like a few months. And then I heard about it. I thought I know I got it.
The experience from my perspective was.
Did you go to New York with it?
Of course.
Yeah. See, I didn't do that. They just saw me in LA, and then it was like, you know, it was like.
You just met once?
The 2 days.
Wow.
You know.
See, I met over a 6-week period, multiple times. I mean, you know, it's amazing because you can Google outsider auditions and you see people, you know, Mickey Rourke, Robert Downey Jr., Dennis Quaid. All the people that they probably should have cast that didn't get the job, only to wind up with the amazing cast that we did wind up with. I'm very proud, you know, to come from that with my brother Ralph. Still to this day, I tell people all the time, and I've had a couple of amazing experiences in my life, but that one truly holds something special in my heart.
Same with me. It's a kindred spirit of all those guys. Anytime you see them, you know we came up together from that film.
Working with Francis Ford Coppola, amazing experience.
Awesome.
I tell people all the time, he's a real family guy. He used to cook lunch for us on this bus that he had. So, you know, during lunch we'd come in and he'd be making us pasta and telling us all the things that we should and shouldn't be doing. Mostly things that I shouldn't be doing, things that Ralph should be doing. But I was 15 years old and the youngest by probably 4 years.
I was 37.
My parents didn't go with me. It was just basically me hanging out with these guys, and you know, Patrick was pretty much the one that was looking over, you know, watching me and taking care of me. So I really had that camaraderie with Rob and Patrick, and really with all the guys. Most of my scenes were with Ralph and Matt, and Matt was just a rock star from the day that I met him. I wanted to be him. I still want to be Matt Dillon. You know, I met him in New York for some of the auditions, and I'll never forget, you know, I was a kid, grew up in California, and I was at these auditions by myself again at the age of 14, turning 15. And after this day of auditioning, Matt turned to me and a couple of the guys and said, you know, come on, I want to buy you guys a pie. I was like, what? I like apple pie. I didn't know what he was talking about. We walked down the street and I learned that pie was pizza. And it was the best pie that I'd ever had. I thought that, I knew when he came in and started reading, I knew he had the part. It was just one of those moments where you just, it was written in the stars. I hadn't met Ralph in New York. I didn't meet you until we got to Tulsa.
Right, no, we met in Tulsa.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Tulsa.
God bless. God bless. It's still, I don't know if you guys have seen The Outsiders lately, even though we did that movie in the 80s. And maybe it's because it was a period piece, maybe it's because the content, the people that were in it, but it doesn't have that dated quality.
No, it doesn't.
It's still a really good film.
Yeah, it is. You know, listen, the book is still read in 7th grades or whatever, I think 7th grade.
It's like 80% of the schools across America require
Yeah,
reading.
it's good stuff.
Marty, have you read The Outsiders?
Yeah, I've read it, but it also was one of my
Did you
favorite
audition
books.
for?
I did not, I was too young. I was way too young, and I was busy, rereading Robert Kamen's script over and over again.
Awesome. Let's throw it out to the audience. Any
But all I'm
questions?
saying, let me just explain it. I mean, if we all think about what a achievement is, The Outsiders, how many people, and I was just looking at the photograph at the table of how many stars evolved into major careers, all of them, every one of them, 8. And the only movie I know, being a Western lover, that even comes close to that is The Magnificent Seven, which maybe 5 of those people became movie stars and had a rich career, but they had 8. And that
Ralph is Yul Brynner, I'm Steve McQueen.
and I'm Eli Wallach. But the bottom line is that that movie worked for me only because it had great relationships all the time for everybody. Everybody was intermingling. All the relationships were so rich, and I think today we really lose that. With all the Marvel comic book stories, we lose in movies the great relationships we had in The Outsiders and Karate Kid. And I wish they'd just do more movies about relationships vis-a-vis, The Outsiders. Thank you.
Here, here.
Okay, let's open up with some questions. That's right. Redhead lady, Cherry Valance. No.
I actually wrote that in my scrapbook already with my photo of the 2 of you. I wanted to thank both of you, Tommy and Ralph, for being here. As I mentioned at the table when I met you, Outsiders is my favorite book, my favorite movie, and the 2 of you were my favorite actors growing up. So having you here is truly amazing. It's a life. Not to leave you out. My question is, do either one of you still remember the poem, and could you recite it?
Oh,
Do you know about it?
indelible.
There's one line I always screw up. If I go, nature's first green is gold.
Our heart is here to hold. Our early leaves a flower, but only so an hour.
That's where I get screwed up.
When leaf subsides to leaf,
So
nature sank to grief.
Boom.
It's easy.
Eden. Overruled.
So even sank to grief. When dawn
None
was
goes
down
down
the
the
dead,
dead,
nothing gold can stay.
That's pretty good.
Got that out of the way.
Okay, this one is for C. Thomas Howell, and it's actually a question I'm asking on behalf of a friend of mine from high school who could not be here.
I can pay it back right now. $20.
Whoa, wait, stay tuned. So, all the kids are now middle-aged people chatting on Facebook, so when she found out I was going to be here at your panel, she said, and I quote, "I am so very jealous I could cry. I have fangirled C. Thomas Howell since the 8th grade." So my friend Bonnie's question is, why did you have to go serial killer? And she also told me to tell you, stop it.
Yeah, it's hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact that Ponyboy went Reaper on everybody. But you know what? Nothing gold can stay.
Would you say hi, Bonnie?
Say it again.
Would you say hi to Bonnie?
Hi, Bonnie.
You made her day.
I love you, Bonnie.
Mr. Macchio.
Yep.
When Mr. Miyagi gives Daniel his choice of cars, his choose, uses his gorgeous line of restored cars, did you yourself have any interest in keeping one of those, or did you ask about it? Can I keep one after the shoot?
That's a good question, and I have an answer that should make you happy and be fulfilling, which is I have that 47 Ford. It's not in the shape. It needs a little TLC right now, as do I. But I do have that car when I went.
Francis has the Mustang
Yes,
in
I have
Napa,
seen, yes.
which is sort of sad shape too. I was
Right,
thinking,
right. Well,
man, I'd like to have that.
this one's been in storage, so the exterior is in good shape, but I got to get the engine up and running. I've someday myself, my wife, and my kids will take a ride in that car all these years later, or I'll sell it to Jay Leno for $200,000.
Excellent decision.
Thank you.
Hi, Dowdy Sparks, played by Tom Waits. You got any stories or memories of meeting Tom Waits?
That's my best Tom Waits.
That's good, man.
He was a cool guy.
I'm a huge Waits fan. He only worked with us for like one night.
Right, in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so.
Bob Merrill.
And I was, 14 or 15. He didn't want a whole lot to do with me. But I'm a huge fan. He's one of the coolest guys on the planet. I love his music today. And he showed up, he shows up in a lot of Coppola movies.
He was in Rumblefish as well.
I'm not sure the connection between the two of them, but apparently they're good friends.
Yeah, and the score for One from the Heart is incredible. It's Tom Waits and Crystal Gayle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Richie Thomas. Just wanted to, it's kind of a statement and question. Just wanted to tell you, as a living historian, I appreciate your role that you did as Tom Chamberlain. Great.
Talking about Gettysburg, Gods and Generals.
Yes.
Civil
Got to
War
work
picture.
extra on it a couple of times at Gettysburg for about a week. But my question is, memories and your time working with James Garner on the movie Tank.
Yeah, well, that was shot here, probably in like 82 or 3, I think. Mr. Garner, rest in peace, really taught me a lot. I had basically done E.T. With Spielberg, and then The Outsiders with Coppola, and moved on to do Tank, and I knew just enough to get myself into a lot of trouble. And Garner was just a brilliant guy, a phenomenal actor, a real family man. Took me in under his he was my Miyagi, really. He was teaching me to, wax on when I was whacking off. And I needed that. I needed that attention. I needed that support.
Show us to the family Comic Con.
Yeah. And at that age, 15, 16 years old, you're searching for, who you are. And I was struggling at that time. And he was just a great guy. And I'll miss him forever. And I'm very thankful for that experience. Thank you.
Thanks for the awesome movie.
Yeah, we did that, those days were something else, because they were trying to get this church lit on fire. It was the oddest special effects department. Remember that? How much, they were throwing gasoline on this building. No, we were in there a while. We actually had to do a section of it with...
well, this is the time before computer-generated effects as well, so everything that you see in there was real flames.
Right, so we were protected, but it was a little hairy. It was certainly hot, and then we had to do some of it later with more special effects kind of thing. I had to do the whole thing where I get, the building comes down. And
Let me share a story real quick about that.
Go ahead.
They did something that I've never experienced before, and I'll try to explain this to you. But they built 2 interior church sets in a 90-degree fashion, and it had a mirror that ran down the middle. One side of it, they literally lit on fire. The other side of it, they placed some smoke bombs for Ralph and I to sort of carve our way through. And then they had this beam that they lit on fire that comes down and hits Johnny.
Right, there were two beams, one on fire and one clearly not, that hit me, and they would shoot it through this reflective glass, and so it had to be exact.
It was extremely complicated, but brilliant. And you know, when they put this footage together, it's amazing. And I remember there was one point they put a little glue on my arm and lit it on fire, and you know, you had to get crushed by this beam, and remember the moment when there was like you got a splinter?
I got a splinter in the movie.
And you're ow!
I know,
And
absolutely.
then you turn and you're like a sliver. Right? And they used it, man. They used it.
Yeah, no, there's a handful of those.
That was really the undoing of Johnny, the sliver. You'll have to watch again. That's what did it.
Deep subtext. But what was going on in our minds is let's not get burnt or hurt. And we did survive the fire.
Okay, and also I have flowers.
You ever do that again and I'll kill you. You pull a stunt like that again and I will kill you.
You got Matt Dillon on the panel.
He's not here right now.
She has a flower for y'all.
A flower? Beautiful. Beautiful. We'll share it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's put that on water right here.
Well done. Well done. Thank you very much. She just hit you in the head with her tail. That was awesome.
Next question.
Hi, I just want to say thank you all for being here and giving back to us for some of the love we have for your characters and such. Whatever. My question
It was all poignant.
The gimmick back.
Whatever. But thank you.
it's DragonCon.
That's okay.
My question, it actually goes back to earlier that the character of the Reaper was brought up. I'm a big fan of Criminal Minds, and I was also have been a big fan of yours going back forever. When you got the role of the Reaper, at the very beginning, did you realize just how significant that character would become to the main characters of the show? I mean, so many of the serial killers and such that they deal with are one-shot deals, but the Reaper was so much more.
Well, you know, it's a strange experience, the whole process, because April Webster, who was the casting director of that, she cast a lot of, you know, big stuff. In the breakdown, and this is sounds so stupid, but in the breakdown, they were looking for a C. Thomas Howell, somebody with C. Thomas Howell quality. And my manager was like, hey, that could be you. And so it was a rainy day, and I went into the audition, and it was a literal cattle call. You know, usually you have appointments set up, and maybe there's one or two people, depending on how they do it. But in this situation, there was 40 people all reading for the Reaper, and I'm comfortable waiting about 30 to 45 minutes. You get to 60 minutes, and I'm thinking, you know what, maybe we need to reschedule. So, 60 minutes goes by in a shot, it's pouring down rain. I call my manager, and I'm just like, you know what, this isn't for me, man. I'm not gonna stay here anymore. He said, you gotta stay, you gotta stay, you gotta stay. So, 2 hours and 15 minutes, I'm sitting there waiting. And I'm kind of like Marty at the Karate Kid audition. I'm like, you're all assholes. Not really. But that's what I'm thinking on the inside. So I go in, and I give my audition. And it was one of those moments before I got to the car, my manager called me up and he said, what did you do in there? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know, I'm sorry. And he says, they love you, they want you, and you start next Monday. So it was a surreal experience, really, because when I met them, they knew that there was going to be some sort of an arc, but up until that point, they had never brought anybody back more than 2 times. And I think I ended up doing 5 or 6 episodes by the time it was all over, but it was spread out over a couple of years. And the idea of me playing somebody that, you know, literally haunted Hotch to the point of, you know, no return was amazing, you know, and I get a lot of hate mail for the fact that I killed his wife. She was a mean lady. But it was one of my most favorite experiences and one of my favorite roles that and I may have said this the other day, so if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but you know, years and years ago I did a movie with Rutger Hauer called The Hitcher. Yeah. And he shared with me something that I carried forever, and we were having lunch and I asked him, you know, Rutger, you're an amazing bad guy. You're one of the greatest villains in cinematic history. What's the secret to playing a good bad guy? And you know, he sort of leaned over with that thick Dutch accent and just said, I don't play bad guys. And you know, I excused myself from the table slowly. And I thought about that for the next 25 years. And it finally resonated when I played that role in The Hitcher, and I realized that I wasn't there to play a bad guy. I was playing a good guy, searching for the humanity in that character that did really evil, bad things. And I think that's why it affected so many people. And I finally, it only took me 25 years to figure out, but I'm here to thank Rutger for that nugget that really helped me create that character. Yeah.
Quick question. Thank you all for your work. Marty, how many takes did it take on Karate Kid 2 for you to break all that auto glass?
Oh, the auto glass story was, we didn't really break the glass very much, unfortunately. We shattered my hand. You know, it was one of those stories where the special effects never went off and you have to hit the glass and you go an inch before the glass. And it was real glass, it wasn't candy glass. And, you know, it's a story that I've told many times to him, you know. And,
no, I'm showing Ralph my scar from the same situation. Don't hit the glass, we'll break it, but then you do.
Yeah, you do. And,
you cut your hand off.
And yeah, and that's what happened. You know, I went in there and it was lunge punch, and I was supposed to lunge punch over his shoulder, hit the glass, and it was supposed to shatter an inch before you get it. And like so many other special effects guys, don't worry.
Does he smell of booze?
Yeah, there he is. He's got a Marty. It's going to be fine. So I got, you know, at rehearsal, you hit glass and it doesn't, and you know, he never broke it in rehearsal, never. And then I decided not to lunge. I just punched in the actual final take, and boom, I went through the real glass on this take, and shards were sticking in my hand and you know, the whole deal. We put new skin over it for about an hour, then we tried one more take, and it still didn't blow. And so John said, you got another one in you? And I looked and I said, listen, John, this is not the hand of Arnold from the Terminator. This is Marty Kove's flesh. So he says, all right, that's a wrap, we'll print that one. So the bottom line is, going into the car is real. It's my real hand. And the next day we shot it, coming out of the car, it's fake. And it doesn't hurt now.
What do you mean you shot it out of the car?
So I go over the shoulder, through, break the glass.
And then he pulls it out as a
And then you pull it out, all, you know, basically
Okay.
another cut.
Okay.
So the next day we shot pulling out because, you know, we were all kind of upset and we couldn't complete the scene. And it worked great, no one knows, but it's a great story to tell because, you know. I mean,
The moral of the story, it's important to pull out.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that, guys.
The difference between Ralph and Tommy, if you guys want to know, is I think all the same stuff. He just says everything.
All right, now just a slight left turn for Ralph. Fred Gwynn, Marissa Tomei, Joe Pesci, one of my all-time.
My cousin Vinny.
Yeah!
One of the two youths who did not shoot the clerk.
Just tell us a little bit about how fun that was.
It was great. Listen, we shot, and a lot of you guys don't know this, which I'm surprised about. We shot that movie in Georgia. And I stayed in Atlanta on Peachtree Street because it's the only street there is in Atlanta. Basically, in my first trip, that's what I thought. And we actually stayed in Monticello, Georgia, which is the town square. Monticello. I got a little Italian on me there with the cello. Monticello. And then I stayed in town here, right, and right outside wherever they shot In the Heat of the Night, that show with Carol O'Connor. Conyers! That's where we shot all the courtroom stuff. And Pesci he had just won the Oscar for Goodfellas. I actually had to leave the set to go get the Oscar to come back. It was a great and phenomenal role for him. Fred Gwynne, it was his last on-screen performance, and he was just perfect. Marissa was shot out of a cannon as far as her talent, won the Academy Award for Mona Lisa.
Vito.
I love it, you guys know. And her biological clock is ticking, but she looks phenomenal. I just saw her last week. My Cousin Vinny is one of the funniest funniest American comedies ever made.
The story you told me about David Mamet.
David Mamet, actually the great playwright and screenwriter, David Mamet came up to me once, and Jonathan Lynn, the director of My Cousin Vinny, and said that he felt that My Cousin Vinny was the most well-rounded, complete American comedy ever written.
Yeah.
And coming from David Mamet.
That and Soul Man.
Yeah, and Soul
Well, certainly Karate Kid and My Cousin Vinny are two that I can just, you're talking about a dearth of, good entertainment and good stories. Those are two really wonderful shows, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, obviously, we're all excited to hear about The Outsiders and Karate Kid again. But I have to tell you, Ralph, at the age of 12, my first love was Jeremy Andretti.
8 is enough.
No lie.
8 is enough. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was I had to do one film before that called Up the Academy, classic. And then 8 is enough, and 9 was too many, and that was the end of that show. But it was 21 fun episodes and a great training ground for me as I was getting all started.
It really was. Well, and being such a young girl and seeing it then, watching your career grow, I'd like to know how you feel that, to your 12-year-old self, how is it measured up for you and your 12-year-old dreams, your career?
My career? Well, I think I've tried to handle it all with as much, grace and be as humble as possible. There might have been some years in between there where I got a little bit, I know better, or
like Karate Kid 3.
Don't mention it. No, at that point, the check made it make a little bit of sense. But yeah, there was, certainly a time where I was just like,
I'm really cool.
I'm really cool.
Karate Kid 3 cool.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, for me, as time's gone on, we're talking both of these films, Karate Kid and Outsiders, are over 30 years old, which is ridiculous, because I'm only 28. It's to see it give back in this way, to fill a room like this. 2 days, we were here yesterday, Marty and I, to see it give back in that kind of way, and the Outsiders reinvent itself with every generation. I feel privileged to have had the opportunity to be lucky enough to be in some of these films, so I feel pretty cool and pretty gracious about it all.
And coming to an event like this, meeting, in particular the younger kids who their parents have been fans of The Outsiders, Karate Kid. I've seen it for 4 days now, and just watching the torch get passed and the love and the energy remain the same is just awesome. So thank you all for that.
Well, thank you for continuing to come and share with us. I'm still waiting for my Marvel Brown-Eyed Boys.
We have time for about one more question, but But please come by their table and ask them more stuff. They're going to be back there in just a minute.
Sorry, I've never actually asked a question at a panel before, and it took me 4 days to get the courage to even ask for a first autograph. So I might ramble a little, but
It's okay, we're here with Tommy. You don't know.
Don't be afraid to ramble, baby.
Well, what I'm curious about, and part of this is to Marty, I'm really looking forward to your future works. And Marty, I know that you have Bring Me the Head of Lance Henriksen coming up, and I'm like searching the internet, trying to find a release date on that. So I'm kind of curious from each of you, what projects do you have coming up or that you've worked on and is in post-production that you're most anticipating or excited for or proud of?
Well, for me, I did a couple of westerns last year, and one is loosely based on Treasure of Sierra Madre. You know, it's called 3 Tickets to Paradise. We shot it in Tombstone, which is a lot of fun to shoot in Arizona, and a great heritage. Another western called Six Gun Savior, which is all about demons and angels, but it's a western. I really want to rejuvenate the western and get it back, you know. I think it's the staple of American cinematic heritage. You know, it's what it is. You know, that and C. Thomas Howell. Staple of American cinema. You know. But I really, you know, those things coming out. I'm doing a play, a Western play, a 2-character piece at the end of the month in LA. But I just think that genre has been neglected, and you know, I mean, in 1920 to 1967, 1 of every 3 films to come out in Hollywood was a Western. And it's an overexposed genre. So they have great things for our kids, I believe, when they have the relationships with Richard Lonesome Dove or The Wild Bunch or The Searchers or Red River. So I, you know, again, knowing what's out there in that Marvel comic book world, I'd love to get the Western in. Obviously with a new twist somewhere along the line.
Iron Man on a horse.
Yeah.
I think you got something there.
Pony boy, you know, on a mule. But that's what I'm
Mule
going,
boy.
you know. Mule boy, that's what we get. We get mule boy. Yeah. So that's what I, you know, what I'm coming up, and it's kind of exciting stuff.
I think everything you guys have coming up and all of this entire weekend has been exciting stuff. And thank you all very, very much.
Okay, wait, before we go, I'm going to take a video of the fans out there, so make some noise.
Push it in away.
Pretend, yeah, ready, everybody? Okay.
So much, everyone.
Really enjoyed seeing you.
We're going to be back at the table in the Hall of Fame lounge or whatever that's called.
Come see us.
Had a great weekend with you all. Thank you.